He was also looking like he wasn't able to stay super healthy. It's not like they're going to do anything with these draft picks. So might as well light them on fire.
So I'm going to peel back the curtain here for everyone. Not only did Texans James, Rob of the Buffalo Bills, Ben of the Cleveland Browns, and then Ken, the intern, even went and they did like a 45-minute show on these Texans trades on Saturday when it happened. Unfortunately, neither myself or Justin, who are the only two producers available, were able to put a 45-minute show together for your listening pleasure. I was able to cut that 45 minutes down to 1:42 for you of James going on the Houston Texans. That was literally the most valuable portion of 40 minutes of audio. So you're welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I did not
what does that say about their whole conversations? Sounds like a waste of 45 minutes.
Of that. The Saints are ranked third in our power rankings. The Texans are 13th. As we were discussing before the show, Neil, the Texans aren't as bad as maybe even James is feeling right now. Yes, they gave up one of their better defensive players, but they did make an improvement on that offensive line. And as James noted, Kenny Stills is perhaps a healthier option, at least, to the likes of Kiki Kuti or Will Fuller, although James will let us know that Will Fuller is off the injury report.
Will Fuller is off the injury report, but both Kenny Stills and Kiki QT both show up on the injury report.
I think, Jay, you're absolutely right. Let's face it, the Houston Texans' future is their quarterback. Deshaun Watson has shown he can be he's been teasing us with some tantalizing performances at various points in his career, but he's been fighting injuries all the time because he keeps getting sacked. So the Laramie Tunsil there from Miami, okay, they've given up a lot for him. They've given up an awful lot for him. But if they can nail down a left tackle for Deshaun Watson for the next 10 years to protect his blind side and let him reach his potential, then that will easily surpass losing Jadeveon Clowney and those two first-round picks. Remember, 2 first-round picks sounds great and a second-round pick, but you've got to do something with them. And do you trust your franchise, your GM, if you're a Miami fan, to utilize those 2 picks and turn them into players as good as Laramie Tunsil? We all know it's a 50-50 crapshoot, isn't it, in the draft? Neil, so who knows?
You can't make a shot you don't take, you know?
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah, as expensive as it was, Jay, this might work out just fine for Houston because if they can get consistent quarterback play, that's what wins in this league.
Well, the Texans are underdogs in this one. The Saints are 7-point favorites as they are playing in that Superdome. And as the NFL 100 Nugget points out, in games played on Monday Night Football, New Orleans quarterback Drew Brees ranks third all-time in passing yards and touchdowns. He has 6,879 yards in passing, 50 touchdowns on Monday night. We're all taking the Saints. The Texans are the Texans now the favorites in the AFC South with the Andrew Luck name?
Yeah,
I think so. What do you think, Jay? Do you how many dubious and favorable calls on pass interference will the Saints get in this game?
That's a great question. I think a better question would be, will we see a challenge flag for pass interference in this game?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that rule is going to be, oh my God, it's going to slow the game down so much. I already hate the rule already.
Okay, let me
slowed it down yet.
Kevin. It can't slow the game down because you still have to use a challenge flag. You only get 2 challenges, and you only get a third if you win your 2 challenges. So far in the preseason, any pass interference call that was challenged, the majority of it went with the call on the field. I think it was only overturned twice during the preseason, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably. It's just a stupid rule. Like, the NFL just shouldn't have messed up so badly and don't mess up again so badly. It's a pretty simple fix. If someone gets hit stick 10 seconds before the ball gets to them, you don't really need to make a rule to fix that. But such is the NFL.
Well, and I think that's sort of what they've said with this challenge is they're only going to overturn it if it was an egregious call, like
Which
the same
is super vague.
right. If it's not super egregious, if it's just, well, as
If
we
it's
slow
just
down,
slightly
we
egregious.
can see that he made contact before the ball got there, but it wasn't that bad. They're not going to overturn it.
Well, all I know is when the Cowboys lose a game because of defensive pass interference called is overturned, I'm going to flip my lid.
Well, I think every fan base is going to flip their lid when it happens at the end of a game and it costs them the game. They're not going to lose it so much if it happens in the first quarter.
Final 2 minutes will go up to the booth review anyway, just like all other calls.
All right. So if it happens in the final 5 minutes, then
Challenge play.
it's going to rise. It'll rise its ugly head. But much like we were very concerned about the lowering of the helmet rule, which was crazy there for a while.
Zeke got called for that once. I think he's the only one ever to be called for it.
It'll be the same as usual, guys. The same as usual. There'll be good calls. There'll be bad calls. There'll be calls that win games, calls that lose games, and in the end of the day, the Patriots will win.
There you go. So that Monday night game kicks off at 7:10. The second Monday night football game kicks off at 10:20, and that is the Denver Broncos at the Oakland Raiders.
Oh my God!
The Broncos are 26th. The Raiders are 27th. The line is pick'em, by the way, in this one. The power rankings, because of the home field advantage, they're going to take the Raiders. But John Gruden, 2-10 in his career versus the Broncos. He's never figured them out. I'm going with the Denver Broncos in this game, gentlemen.
It's very late, isn't it? It's very late for you guys. 10:20 p.m.
Because it's 7:30 on the West Coast. Yeah, it'll end at like 1:30 in the Eastern time.
Who's going to be watching that ish? Sorry. Who's going to be watching that rubbish? I mean, that's just awful, isn't it?
Me. I got fantasy implications.
Denver and Oakland. Bloody hell.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, you guys start gambling on games.
That was the most apropos description of that game.
But is this, James, is this one of those things where they say, right, week one, let's get the crap out of the way first?
Yeah.
No, Neil, I'm telling you, it's because Oakland is on the West Coast. They always play. If you look at the last 5 Monday Night Football games, if you look at the last 5 Monday Night Football games,
San Diego, or the Chargers on that second Monday night game, the last 5 years.
I'm not buying it. This has got.
You're not buying it.
Everybody's desperate for football. Everybody wants to see football. So let's put some nonsense out first, and that'll get that.
All right, so
you've got to start gambling on games.
Here's some nonsense
make you way happier.
With the injury report. Hold on. Nothing for the Oakland Raiders in the injury report. For the Denver Broncos, Theo Riddick was placed on IR. Neil's favorite player and tight end in the league, Jake Butt, was put on injury reserve.
Oh yeah,
and Drew Lock was put on injury reserve as well. So that kind of hurts my whole thing for Drew Lock taking over at the end of the season.
Alcohol poisoning?
Denver has
some injury. That's why he's being put on injury reserve. But Flacco's now going to play the whole season, apparently. I was hoping he was going to lose his job just because of poor play, and Drew Lock was going to take over in like week 10.
Nope. You're wacko for Flacco all year long.
Oh, God. Well, Denver, you're not making the playoffs.
Oh, they're certainly not.
But, I mean, they've got a tough division anyway. They've got the Chargers and the Chiefs to contend with. Who cares about the Raiders? The Hard Knocks, by the way, season finale.
Thank God it's over. Can we not talk about it?
No, we have to discuss a little bit of it. I mean, first of all, I was a little surprised. Monty sort of set us up all preseason long, saying that none of the guys that were being featured on Hard Knocks were going to make the team. And lo and behold, I was a little surprised to see Keelan Doss and then Brandon Marshall, whom they hadn't featured until the last episode, not make the Oakland Raiders. It was a little bit of a surprise there.
What about AB's fines this week? I mean, he's not happy again, is he? Poor guy. What a rough season he's had so far.
Season hasn't started yet, Neil.
Speaking of Antonio Brown,
he's upset, isn't he?
Well, let's discuss a couple things about that helmet of his. One, he ends up choosing a helmet that A, has a visor, and B, has extra bars in where where your eyesight would be. Why in the world, if his complaint was all these new helmets limit his vision, would he pick one that literally will block his vision?
Probably because he's got a sponsorship deal with them, no?
Well, and that's part two of this whole thing. He throws this big complaint about his helmet and ultimately ends up getting a sponsorship deal for the new helmet that's on his head. Crazy like a fox, I dare say.
Yeah.
The Raiders are screwed. Antonio Brown's all about the money. He does not care about football anymore whatsoever. It's going to be a beautiful thing to watch.
He's been fined $53,000 for missing 2 practices, so maybe his helmet sponsorship can pay those.
I don't think he cares about $53,000.
I'm sure sponsorship will definitely.
He's probably spent that much in foot balm.
He probably spent that much to get his mustache yellow. Probably went to the fanciest barber he could find. He's like, give me the worst mustache you got.
Oh, boy.
He's going to have a great season, isn't he? He's going to probably go for 1,500 yards and 12 touchdowns.
He's certainly not.
All right. Any other final notes here? Is there anything that we missed?
Cowboys were the best team in the NFC East.
I feel like I'm going to miss the off season.
Well, with comments like the Cowboys being the best team in the NFC East, I was glad that neither of you took the bait, jumped on that.
I know. I'm disappointed.
I didn't even hear anything. Was Kevin talking?
No.
I just hope that Michael Gallup, was he called, this wide receiver, your wet dream guy?
That's actually a perfect phrase.
Oh my God.
Not ashamed to admit it. He's very sexy.
He's your new Tony Romo?
No, please.
Please. His new Tony. There will never be a new Tony Romo.
I like Tony Romo more than I like myself.
And there you have it. I think that's a good spot to end the show.
It's not a bad one. I will just let you know that there's still plenty of time to play against us in our Pigskin Pick'em or our Eliminator Challenge leagues. Links are on our social media on Twitter at NFU Podcast or my own social media at The Real PodVader. So you can go and sign up and play against us. And if you beat us in a week in the Pigskin Pick'em, I will gladly invite you on the show to join us. We'll be recording these for you every Thursday afternoon from henceforth. You can, I mentioned the Twitter, facebook.com/podcast. Nextfanup@gmail.com is a great way to get in touch with us. Yes, Kevin?
No, nothing. Disregard anything I said.
Okay. I think
I the last hour.
Entire podcast, yes. You can reach out to us, nextfanup@gmail.com, to send us your questions or your comments. We have a fantasy show coming up every Saturday morning. So if you have fantasy questions, please send them in. We'll forward them off to Josh and his guest. I'm not sure who his first guest is. I should probably ask him so that I can promote that a little bit better before the week comes. On Friday, we will have SuperFan battles for you. Currently, there's only one that is completed, but I do believe that there'll be 2 or 3 to be featured on our Friday show, which will be only SuperFan battles. So it'll give you even more in depth, get you more into the X's and O's on each and every big game of the week. You can share this with a friend. You're going to want to subscribe so you don't miss any of these shows. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or Spotify. Great places for you to listen to the podcast and share with a friend. And with all of that, I wish you good luck in whatever endeavors you are endeavoring in. There is an announcement about my new employment coming out probably a little bit later today or maybe tomorrow. So I'll be excited about that. The best part about that news is I will still be able to do this particular podcast and share my insights with you on the NFL, the game that I truly, truly love. I love it. Well, I love it more than apparently Kevin loves himself. So with that, I bring you...
I mean, who doesn't love Tony more than they love themselves?
I might love it more than Kevin loves Tony Romo. I'm not sure. But with that, I leave you with Andy Dalton.
Awesome. Truly impossible.
You might
Andy
do, but
Dalton.
it won't be quite